Find the meeting notes for us. There are the meeting notes. Today's cat t-shirt is the polar opposite of a cat t-shirt. It's actually a mouse t-shirt because I like Pinky in the Brain and saying NARF. And doing the same thing we do every day. How is everybody's Wednesday going? Okay. None of you are giving the opportunity to check my headphones. Come on, can somebody say something out loud?
Fantastic.
NARF.
All right, NARF, thank you. Okay, since this is a half-hour meeting, I would love for us to go ahead and get right into it. Claire, how are we doing on enhancements? Where and how can we help?
Yeah, so I'm still cheating and calling it yellow-green instead of actually picking a color. We've got 33, though I'm inclined to say really we should be at 31, but I'll get to that when we get to the notable ones at risk. Of those, 17 are at risk due to either having missing test plans or having open PRs in flight. Most of those 17, though, don't have more than 2 open PRs in flight. And the notable enhancements at risk that we've called out, issue 127, this one's been at risk for a very long time. It's one of the ones I'm inclined to punt at this point because there's been no activity on the issue. We have no KEP that we can find. PRs are still open. And when I poked in sig node, there was no one commenting about any activity for 127. Does anyone think punting is a bad idea at this point? Nope, cool. Sounds like a decision for that one.
No categories with you.
All right, and then the next issue at risk, 116, this is the Windows to GA. This one is at risk right now just because there are a large amount of PRs that are in flight. And when I asked in the SIG Windows Slack channel, they indicated they even anticipate some of these PRs might get merged post code freeze. So that's one just to watch out for if those PRs don't get added. I see Michael is on. I know he's one of the main people responding. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
We only have 1 PR left.
Okay, 1 PR left at this point.
Yeah, so we're very close. So we were able to close most of them. A lot of them were just waiting for people to approve. So we have 1 critical PR left, and then documentation PRs are the rest.
Okay, so hopefully then not really at risk.
Still risk, but yeah, it's got a lot better this week.
Yeah, I have confidence that Windows is not trying to jam in a brand new feature at the last minute, but instead that any PRs that are landing after code freeze are intended to bring red tests to green, which is kind of the point of code freeze.
Yeah, that's exactly what those PRs are. Either adding new tests or fixing a couple of tests, but we're in. It's I wouldn't say we're 100% comfortable, but you know we're nervous, but we're doing well.
Cool. All right, and I'll move on. Issue 751. This one's been talked about before, being at risk because test plans are missing, but all their PRs are merged. End-to-end tests are linked in the GitHub issue, but not in the KEP. And talking to Derek Wayne Carter in #SigNode, he was responsive and they do want this issue in. I guess my question is having the end-to-end test that he also stated the end-to-end tests haven't changed since this issue is being promoted to, it's going beta to GA. Do we think that's sufficient to let this one stay in without those end-to-end issues in the KEP?
I swear I saw a link from Derek yesterday.
I don't know if it's just me, but you sound slightly robotic.
Yeah, you're Daft Punking.
Okay, how about now? Is that better?
Yes.
I swear I saw a link to an end-to-end test that's running. Are you saying there is no end-to-end test or that it's failing?
There are end-to-end tests, but they're not linked in the KEP. They're only linked in the GitHub issue.
Okay, I think he had a PR open to correct that. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay. We probably put it in after I asked last night, and I just haven't seen that PR yet. Then so hopefully then that one can move out of at risk.
Change the status, but he didn't change the link to the tests. Okay, I'll poke him today. Thank you.
Okay. And then the last one is 783. This one is at risk again because of missing KEP plans, but when talking with at Luxus and at STTS in both GitHub and in Slack, they said it's the only changes that were merged in for 114 were really small, and the bulk of the work is actually targeting 115. So they agree that possibly punting this makes sense. So.
Okay, I say we punt. That sounds like the decision we kind of arrived at 2 days ago. It's good to get confirmation from those two.
Cool. Then with that, we can update. We actually have 31 metrics being tracked. Cool. And if there are any questions for me?
Not at present. I will try to take a look at the at-risk things today.
Cool. Sounds good.
Maria, how's CI signal looking?
Hello. Quick summary, as there's a lot of stuff happening. So in terms of blocking suites, there are no failures in master blocking. 114 blocking was clean until the last run, which seems to be a flake. However, they're both flaking quite significantly. Master upgrade is struggling comparatively more. However, the failing test that was owned by SIG Networking, the DNS config map has started passing. I'll keep an eye on it, just make sure that it's steady for around like 5 runs or so, and then close the issue. Slightly more worrying is there's a couple of failures that seem to be rooted in the tests around cluster upgrades, so diff resources, firewall rules, and perhaps one owned by SIG cluster lifecycle for, let me see if I can remember that. Yeah, maintaining a functioning cluster. The short description there is that the cluster itself, the cluster upgrade rather, stops midway and seems to be leaking resources, and that's persistent volumes, firewall rules, etc., causing a bunch of other test cases to fail. Tim Sinclair helped with triage last night for me, last afternoon for West Coast. He seems to believe that the problem is with the tests that are owned by Google, and this is where I would like a bit more of help as to who to reach out to.
Okay. The Google thing just makes me really sad. Just real quick context. It used to be Robbie. Robbie has moved away from working on this particular aspect of the project, and I have yet to actually find anybody who can pick up and carry the torch. So these set of bash scripts that stand up the majority of clusters that all of our tests depend upon, Tim St. Clair is adamant that SIG cluster lifecycle does not support, leaving the community with an effectively unsupported pile of bash. It's,
okay.
So Justin, Santa Barbara, myself, and some other members are trying, but it's best effort.
Okay, makes sense. Is there something that I can do outside?
Highlight that these are happening, and
okay.
and bring them to my attention. I'll see what I can do.
Sounds good. And then there's a couple of issues on failing jobs that seem to be owned by SIG Node. One is failing consistently, and seems to just fail to stand up all the pods that it's expecting to stand up. I created this earlier today and reached out to SIG Node. I haven't heard back yet. It hasn't been ages, but I've put it as red because it's a consistently failing test in a blocking suite. all in all, I wanted to go for like a reddish yellow, but as we don't have these, I'm going to be decisive and say red at the moment. Another thing that might be interesting is that I've started opening issues for the top flaky jobs. So that's rates of above 70% of flakiness at any, like over the last couple of weeks. You can find umbrella issues and related tests that seem to be contributing to them, and then we'll go around and start addressing the jobs that are slightly less flaky, but still significantly so, with flake rates of around 50%. I've linked the umbrella issues in the doc. Any questions or comments?
Do we feel like we have a good response from sig storage and sig auth based on the fact that like they seem to be scattered flakes for blocking jobs?
Yes. So are you talking about the failures or the flakes?
I think I'm talking about the flakes. Just the fact that like the GCE cause default jobs are perpetually failing, not because any one test is failing all the time, but because lots of different tests that have sig storage and sig auth in their name are failing.
Yep. So there was a pretty good response from what I saw. They both acknowledged them quite quickly. We haven't seen fixes just yet. Maybe it's a bit early to do that, but it's on my sort of like top of my list to keep going back and prodding.
Okay.
But it is quite interesting. So when I was doing some data digging yesterday, it's quite interesting that the tests themselves flake about, I think, 5 to 6% of the time, which is still significant, but is nowhere near the 80% of flake rate that we see for the job. So it's quite sad that many kind of like unrelated, if you want, tests, because they don't all flake at once, cause a lot more mess than they do individually.
Great. I have been trying to use the triage dashboard, which I'll link in chat here, to see if what's happening is that there are specific failures that are cropping up across a number of different tests. One of those things that this led me to discover is there was an API machinery related test that added an admission webhook that delayed everything by 5 seconds all the time, which maybe introduced some flakes. That didn't land until early this morning Pacific time, so I'm waiting to see if that helps out. But I'm hopeful that that's what's causing some of these failures, just because they're spread across so many different tests.
Yeah.
Dim's had a question about your reporting or weekly reports.
Yeah, so we do send some weekly reports. It isn't so much a list of flaky tests and jobs. We could start sending that a bit more explicitly. There are, so in the weekly report that we send, there is now a link to the project board that we look at, and the issues are linked there. But I think we could improve that and make it even more actionable in a way. That's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I have been trying to use the CI signal board as much as I can. I'm trying to keep things sorted so that the flakes and under investigation columns are sorted in priority order. So we know that the critical urgent things are super important. Okay, just to keep us moving. Thank you for that, Maria. Let's hear from Marco on bug triage.
Okay, hello everyone. A quick update regarding bug triage. So we have started actively working on this and going through all issues and PRs, and so far we have pinged most of them. There are some more to ping to see what's the status, but they were relatively active, and we are going to do that today or tomorrow, and then we will went through all issues and PRs. And therefore, many of issues and PRs are closed or moved to another milestone. And so far, we moved to 15, about 13 issues, and there are some more to move as code freeze is coming. everything looks fine so far, and we can say that we are between yellow and green, considering the status. The most of issues and PRs are related to SIG windows, and that is maybe the biggest features, but we will continue monitoring that and seeing is it going well and is going to make into 1.14. So far about the metrics, we have some open and closed issues. Compared to the last meeting we had on Monday, there are 18 issues less open and 14 PRs less open compared to Monday. And in total, we have 38 open issues and 44 open PRs. And in the last 10 days, we have about 20 issues closed. So this is mostly it. If there are any questions or anything we can do.
Sounds like you're doing great work. Keep it up. I think to my personal opinion, to reiterate what I was saying on Monday, I think we'll really, it will be very helpful for you to help us stay on top of PRs to make sure that we don't have people trying to sneak stuff into the V114 milestone that doesn't really belong there in the context of code freeze.
Okay.
I think you've been doing a great job of that so far.
Thanks.
Amit, how exciting has test infra been lately?
Yeah, so it's pretty good, and I'm going to follow everyone's lead in saying it's yellow-green. Yellow because Tide was pretty unhealthy today. Unhealthy in the terms of only user-facing because it wasn't able to set the statuses correctly, and that was because of GitHub rate limit abuses. The testing of jobs was running fine, and that proves the fact that we still were able to merge 71 PRs in the last 2 days. So that's pretty good. Right now, Tide is looking pretty healthy. I would say even healthier than before. So that's why the yellow-green. And hopefully, because of the current science, we'll be upgrading Proud to latest head. And if that goes fine, then everything should be good. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Just anecdotally, I personally feel like to set expectations, it's taking longer for PRs to merge right now because of the sheer number of PRs that are being opened up or made ready to merge. And then the fact that we have the flaky tests that we do means that if any of the tests flake, it could prevent anywhere from 1 to 5 PRs merging. That was just my read of like looking at the Velodrome dashboard and looking at how the tide pools have been changing over the past, I'm not going to link it now, but like if you change the graph to look back the past 7 days, 14 days, whatever, it's very clear we are in code freeze because the tide pools have been getting larger than they have been thus far.
Yeah, I would say considering that code freeze is tomorrow, that tide pool getting larger is expected historically. What we'll mostly be worried about is the tide processing time, which seems to have gone, has seemed to have improved a lot. So it's still picking up batches, but it will take the same amount of time for testing because the batches are longer.
By the way, we're getting a lot of reports about code freeze being on Friday. So other folks are saying Thursday, and other folks
are saying Thursday. It's Thursday.
That's what was in the docs originally. So what's going to happen, Aaron? I mean, we've experienced this. We had like 6 or 7 PRs yesterday that were all backed up because of the system, either some of them failing and due to the flakiness and having to resend them through. You know, obviously the fragility of the system is impacting our ability to get some PRs in, not just us, I'm talking about everybody in general. Is there going to be some leeway at the end for some of these PRs that are going to be backed up and ready to merge or go through the final testing?
I mean, if you've got all the appropriate approvals and it's passing tests or you're waiting for tests to pass. I have historically seen us be like, okay, well, we'll wait to see what merges, right? We're not super aggressive about kicking everything out right away.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
But what you can do to really, really help yourself out is add the V114 milestone to PRs that you want to land in the V114 release, because that's what we're going to be using as code freeze, right? Like if your PR doesn't have that milestone, it's not going to merge. So if you add it now, then we can get a good idea of what you are trying to merge.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we have the milestone tag. Thank you.
A quick question: is it end of day PST on Thursday?
Yes.
Look at this. Lubom, we're getting an extra few hours.
Yes, yes.
Yes, end of day PST. That information should all be linked in the code freeze definition in the release docs here. If I'm lying, if the docs differ, please point this out to me, because I really would rather just tell people to read the docs. There we go. Okay. Let's talk. Speaking of docs, let's talk docs. Jim.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. So I was able to go through all the various kind of stats of docs, sync up with Claire and yourself. So we do have some good metrics here. I would say we're greenish yellow. So the way I ended up doing it was recalculating how we're actually categorizing the docs so we can get a clearer picture of exactly where we're at. So I've actually added some functionality in the features stats tab for the docs stats. If you're in the enhancement spreadsheet, you can look at it. But essentially, I grouped together the PRs that are ready to merge and the ones that are merged and the ones that are ready for review into the green category. I consider those near done, very shortly going to be done docs. And then I categorized any of them that were in draft as being yellow. Now, draft could be just an open blank PR. It can also be the fully completed doc with some minor nits needed to be adjusted. So it's a little inaccurate number. I figured to be play it safe, categorize it as yellow, and then obviously if it's late, it's going to be red. So we're looking at right now roughly 60% of the release is green, 35% is yellow, and I'd say 8% is late. Working with Claire and resolving some of those and the 2 PRs that are late. And the next deadline is Monday, March 11th for having all the PRs ready to review. So looking at having roughly 10 come up to that state.
Okay. Trying to keep us moving forward. Jeff, are you here to talk to us about release notes?
I am here. So I will go super fast. Long story short, updating external dependencies. We're going to have a PR and more of an update on Friday, because that's when a lot of us are going to be able to focus on stuff. And that silly release notes site project-wise, I need to spin up a Kubernetes SIGs repo, and I need to talk with you and like sig-release to figure out who's sponsoring that. So other than that, release notes is good. And we're green because we're still on track to be done.
Okay. Natasha or Caitlin, who's here to talk to us about comms? Caitlin, are you?
Sorry, I'm on. The double mute got me again. So I found out yesterday we actually hadn't aligned on the 2 additional features that we want to highlight. So Claire, I sent you an email on that. Now that I think things are kind of starting to shake out what'll make it and what won't. So if we could sync on that maybe today, I think we're still on track to get this done by the 12th, but we need to figure that out.
Yes. Sorry, I saw your email and I was going to respond, and then I unclicked it and it went into the black hole that is my red folder.
No worries. I can ping you on Slack too if that's easier.
Yes, that sounds good. I'll give you the feedback because I did have responses to those questions you asked.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, and I know we had originally talked about like trying to walk through something today or review something today. I'm gathering you're saying that's not really ready. Do you think we could allocate some time for this on Friday just to share with the team sort of the direction that we're headed?
Yep, I think that's good.
Okay. And if there's anything I can do to help offline, let me know.
Okay, thanks.
Hannes said he wasn't going to be able to make it, so in my best robot voice, apparently he's cutting beta 2 on what is it, next Tuesday, and he's moving around all of the KEPs, and that's it. So then it falls to me. Oh boy, what do I choose? What do I choose? This is so hard. I feel like I'm gonna go yellow. I'm still kind of a yellowish red in my heart, but I did say that my criteria for not going red was to see that there was actually a plan. I feel like all of the hard work that Maria has done to reach out to the individual SIGs and make them aware that their flakes or tests are blocking release has helped. Oh, and Maria's amazing team. Thank you all so very much. I'm still super worried about CI signal, so staying on top of that and trying to help escalate and raise visibility there is kind of my top priority right now. My next priority is helping with the at-risk items. My next priority is based on those two things that'll give me a good idea of what themes we should be driving to for comms. I think that's all I have. Okay. Actually, I did have one other thing. I really fell down on the job of posting my daily code freeze meme yesterday. So I'll have to get one out there today. If y'all have any code freeze memes you want me to share with the community during tomorrow's community meeting update, I will gladly accept input on the sig-release channel. Thank you all so very much. Have a happy Wednesday. We'll see you all online.